Well, Garry Patterson, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for coming on.
No worries. Thanks for having me on.
That's all right. You said you hadn't listened to any podcasts or recorded any podcasts or anything like that. Was it a bit daunting coming on, or you're all pretty up to it?
Oh, look, it's all good. I had the camera thrown in my face a few times and a few radio interviews here and there, so I'm sure it's much the same.
So for those who don't know, who are you and what do you do? If you can put it in a nutshell.
Garry Patterson. I'm the owner and founder of Trailscapes. We're an international trail and design construction company. Been doing this for the last 14 years as the company, and many, many years before that.
Has it been 14 years already? I thought it was relatively new. I didn't know it was that long.
It's been a long time. Was it 2006, 2007? Certainly nothing like it is today. That's for sure.
Were you one of the original kind of trail crews in Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. So we originally I was part of a company called Trail Solutions Australia. That company still exists down in SA, and we built the Eagle Mountain Bike Park. And from there, we all kind of went our separate ways, and I started Trailscapes, and haven't looked back.
So if we wind back even further, though, how did you kind of get into mountain biking as a sport? Because it wouldn't have been as big as it is today, right?
Oh, no, not at all. Look, when I first started riding, if you saw someone on a mountain bike, you'd stop, have a chat. So this is 1989. I got my first mountain bike. Prior to that, I was a little BMX and skateboard guy, and got into the mountain biking because I was a vert skateboarder at that stage and flogging out my knees, and it was recommended that cycling would be good for it with the low gearing of a mountain bike, and started doing that, and it was just awesome. Just loved going out and exploring all the national parks that we had around. This is all Adelaide back then, and it was incredible. It was still legal to ride a mountain bike in the national parks when I first started, but didn't take too long for it to become illegal. And then it was a game of avoid the ranger.
It's pretty much still the case these days in some spots. What was your your first mountain bike?
Some states. My first mountain bike?
Yeah, sorry, there's a bit of lag here.
Yeah, it was a 15-inch Diamondback Axis. It was what they called like the smoke fade colour, chromoly. Everything on it was chromoly, pretty much. Shimano Dior group set, I think it was. Yeah, probably weighed 15 kilos or something. No suspension, no decent brakes. No dropper posts.
So I had way less and weighed probably just as much as what like a modern mountain bike does these days.
Yeah, definitely. That was pretty funny. You went out on a ride and you got a flat tire pretty much every time you rode. You got a pinch flat and stuff. It's just so incredible to ride a bike today that I can't even remember the last time I got a flat tire. It's just it's awesome.
It's the best. People don't realise how lucky they are.
No, absolutely. It's just what a time to be involved with mountain biking.
And how did the kind of sport evolve from there for you? Because we would have had a fairly strong scene at that time. It would have grown pretty quickly from then on.
Yes, there wasn't that many people mountain biking. There was the Adelaide Mountain Bike Club. They they'd been established for a few years there, so we'd go out into the occasional cross-country race and have a crack there. But obviously, for me, it was all about going down the hill. So as luck would have it, a private landowner called Peter Mack up in the Adelaide Hills, Marble Hill, asked if anyone was interested in putting like a track on his land. He was a former motocross hill climb guy, and he just loved the idea of having mountain bikes on his property. So went out there and built a mountain bike trail. That was 1991. So that's the first trail I built, sanctioned, legit. And the Inside Line Mountain Bike Club came along, and they needed somewhere to race, and obviously they got put in contact with me, and then I became part of that club, and we held the very first race for the Inside Line. Did some dual slalom racing, which was awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then it really started to gather momentum. It just became this huge social scene, the Inside Line Mountain Bike Club. Everyone used to hang out together on Friday and Saturday nights in town, go racing, go riding. And we started the mountain bike series, and it just went from strength to strength. And, what is it, 30 years?
Yeah, I think last year was 25, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So 25. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. 25 years of non-stop racing from a club that's just incredible. It just shows the dedication of the people and enthusiasm in SA for downhill mountain biking. Yeah, it's awesome.
How big in numbers was a race back then, though? Like, you would have known everyone by first name basis.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, you'd get 30 people.
Yep.
Yeah. Then I think I remember we cracked like 100 people, and it was like, oh, geez, this is pretty exciting. And, and I think, God knows what the record is now. I think it was like 280, 300, something along those numbers. Pretty incredible. Yeah.
And where in SA were you riding at the time, if it was all kind of illegal and coming up as well with this race scene? Like, where were you building tracks?
So just the trails. We'd just go out discovering trails. Mount Lofty was just the obvious, because it was like, hey, that's the tallest hill.
Yeah.
Let's go there. Very easy to get to. Then there was Mitcham Trails. They've had a history of horse riding and stuff in the past, so a lot of those trails are still there, which is pretty cool. Anstey's. So there was a group up in the northeast suburbs there, affectionately known as the Hellmen, which are now called the MTBs. Which, Yep.
Know that group.
And, those guys, it's pretty cool. They actually went out and just held a race there in the national park. No permission, no nothing, just went and did it. Obviously the ranger came along and cracked the shits and put it into that.
Couldn't imagine trying to do that these days. It would be like game over pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was really fun times. And when I met those guys, they were all about exploring trails. So we'd go to all the national parks and see what they had to offer. And soon learnt. Crazy places to ride.
Yeah, we're pretty spoilt for variation in SA for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like 175 k's just outside of the city. It's incredible.
Yeah. Was racing something you wanted to kind of get good at and do, or was it just like that scene? That was the only place you could find other mountain bikers at the time?
It was a combination. Like, obviously back in the day, you've always got the smack talking of who's the fastest and what have you. So, it was like, well, let's get the stopwatches out.
Yep.
This is how we settle it, the time doesn't lie. So, Yeah, I did pretty well. Won a couple of state championships and stuff. So it's all right. Sort of got a bit burnt out towards the end though with the running the club and trying to be competitive and running a business and stuff. It all takes its toll eventually.
Yeah, running a club is pretty much a full-time job. It's so much more than people think.
Yeah, absolutely. And you really need a team of good people around you to make it happen. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'd be doing timing and then go up into a race run and signing people on, building the course, knocking the course down. It was a lot, but yeah, I had a good team around me. It was cool.
How many times did you win when you were doing the timing and running and racing?
Nearly every time.
Just tweak it. I can't imagine that happening. Yeah. Oh, that'd be too good.
No, I don't think anyone would let me get away with that. That's for sure.
Excuse me. At what point did you kind of decide through racing and through riding and everything that trail building was like the aspect that you wanted to kind of focus on?
Oh, it was kind of a strange one, really. We just had to build trails so we could hold races because we didn't have established tracks. Cross country, they had some established tracks, so that was relatively straightforward to put on a race. But for a downhill, you had to obviously, create some challenges and so forth. So I just got out there, kept doing it, and obviously as the sport got bigger and bigger, we were building some good tracks out at Fox Creek, and Bicycle SA invited IMBA, which is the International Mountain Bike Association. They're considered like the Bible of trail building. Their book, the Building Switch Single Track, and they came over and held kind of like a mini conference, so to speak, and we had people like myself that kind of just building randomly with no real guideline other than to just make the track as steep and rad as possible. And then land managers that probably were pushing back mountain bike riding and trail development because they just thought that it was going to be just big ruts and what have you. And these guys from IMBA did this presentation and just knocked us back like, wow. Look at all these different ways to actually build trails and to build challenging trails that are sustainable and help legitimise trails in SA. So it was still a few years before it got really legitimised. It's when the Eagle Mountain Bike Park, so that was Australia's first mountain bike park, when that was proposed. That's when we really got serious and started building a really good, high quality trails that, obviously they're still there today. And that was, what's that? Nearly 15 years ago, I guess, when we first started building. That's a testament to the quality of the trails that we were building back then.
Because they haven't changed too much. There's been a little bit of maintenance done here and there, but nothing up there has been hugely realigned or anything.
No, that's right. We've just improved and modified trails to be more relevant for modern bike riding because when we started building trails then nearly 15 years ago, you didn't have like the enduro bikes that we have today. That would have been considered a high level downhill bike. So
a concept bike even.
So the technology has changed dramatically since we first started trail building. So so now we build more for those modern bikes.
I guess one thing you're always going to face as a trail builder is criticism, or pretty much anything you do, but mainly trail builders seem to get it from everyone. You went from building like super steep natural tracks because that's pretty much all you knew or all anyone knew, and then IMBA come along, and then it starts to become what some people would call like a cookie cutter formula to make good tracks.
Yep.
And then you got bikes that are getting better, so you want to build technical trails. How hard is it for you to balance all this? And then the thing that everyone forgets about is that a council or a land manager has approached you to make a trail that's for everyone. So you've got to balance all three of those things. How hard is it for you to kind of continue to improve your trails, but also maintain those kind of qualities from your old trails?
It can be really difficult. I think we're finding a really good balance of it now. Initially, those early days, it was all, sustainability was thrown around all the time, and we were probably building for different clientele as well. A lot of the early tracks were sort of like more cross-country racing trails. And like I said, it's very hard to build a trail that everyone likes. And, look at how many different bikes are available to purchase, different wheel sizes, different styles. There's 15 different mountain bikes you can go out, but there's only 5 different levels of trail you're kind of building. So it's very, very difficult. But I think we're finding a really good balance now, especially as we lean back and make a lot more natural trail. Land managers today have worked it out that, you can make your trails rowdy and they're going to be fun and they are sustainable. There's no issue with it. I think the problem that arises and, people critique is when you're kind of just smashing around in your excavator or something and you're just building, berm after berm after berm after berm. Oh, here's a roller. Here's just, you're just going to fall asleep. I fall asleep. So it's really learning those skills as an operator and as a trail builder of being able to get that old school feel back into your modern trail and still make it sustainable, still have it drain. Because that's ultimately what you want to achieve. But it's still hard. You can build the best trail ever and someone's still going to go, oh, no, it's no good.
No, it's too hard. Yep.
Yeah, too hard. You do actually hear that a lot.
What is sustainability, though, for a trail builder? Because that's kind of hard to narrow down as a rider.
Yep. Well, for me, it's I've built you a trail and it's going to take very, very little maintenance to keep that trail in the condition that I've just built for you. So that, in the nutshell, is it for me. That's the way I'd say the trail is sustainable. It's no good someone going out and paying X amount of dollars for a trail and then 6 months later you're paying a company again to completely rebuild that trail, or you're relying heavily on a team of volunteers to rebuild and rework that trail. So that's, for me, it's just designing and constructing a trail that just has very, very little maintenance.
I guess, from my amateur trail building eyes, if something's there from nature, it's going to be kind of designed to last long there anyway. So if you've got rocks and you've got roots and stuff, they're kind of placed there and they've been there for a while. So if you're moving that stuff around, can it also hinder that sustainability?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, that's why we always, we're doing our best to leave those in the ground. And that's why often people like a hand-built trail. You dig around all those small features and they actually become the feature of the trail. And that's what, I love riding roots. I love riding rocks. So, I want them on my trail. So, and by pulling, cutting roots down of trees, and you're undermining that tree, and then that tree could die, could fall over. You're creating all sorts of issues when you start messing with nature too much. So, less is more, and you'll end up with a much more sustainable trail.
For sure. So, is it hard when a council or something approaches you to build a trail? Let's say Shepherd's Creek, or if no one knows it, or like even Craigburn Farm here in Adelaide and stuff, where it's quite flat. It's very wide trail, flow trail. Is it hard for you to kind of tame it down and make it more accessible for everyone, and how do you go about balancing it? Because that seems like a super hard task.
It is. All right. Well, we use Craigburn Farm examples. That was actually the first legal mountain bike trails in a national park in South Australia. So that was a big deal. When we built those trails, we had so many people from the department, from national parks, just coming out and looking at what we're doing and asking questions, and within a month they were looking at it going, wow, this is really high quality trail building. Like, why have we been scared of this? Like, this is really good. And it's a very degraded area as well. It's not completely void of good vegetation, but it was farming land. And it still had cows on it when we were building.
Okay. Yep.
And it had to be shared use, dual direction. Yep. So as a trail builder, they're the words you just don't want to hear, because it's like, how do you make a good trail going down the hill and people are expected to ride back up that hill? So it learnt a lot in those projects. And I can use Craigburn as an example, because that was the country's first proper flow trail. Big rollers, big berms. That was full trail to build, but there were some things on that I definitely got wrong. Like, there's some rollers there that I ride today and go, they're hideous. What was I thinking? So you got to, we've all got big egos in this business as well. So you've got to be able to look back and say, okay, that we can do better.
And flow trails, you mentioned it there, that was one of the first in Australia, but it seemed there was a period where everyone just wanted to build flow trails. And to me, it was kind of weird, because for me, like, natural stuff is more of a flow than that fast outpaced stuff. So I don't ride flow trails that well, and that's probably why I don't like them as much. But what was the whole drive behind getting those kind of flow trails and everyone wanting them so much? I think it was only like 3 or 4 years ago. It seemed like they were popping up everywhere.
People love berms. That's what it seems to be. They just, they can't ride a flat corner, so they need the berm. The bigger the better. Makes them feel good. But on that point, like, there's still, a flow trail for me is any trail that actually flows well. It's got a nice dedicated speed built into its design, whether it's a technical flow trail that you can ride down rooty, rocky terrain and you're still just getting through it really cleanly because the flow of that trail is really good, or if it is a proper flow trail, something like Shred Kelly and Bright, where you're just hooking and you've got big rollers and really nice berms and stuff. No, that's a flow trail. A lot of these other trails are just trails with berms. Yeah. And they don't flow, they don't flow at all. They're awkward. But people perceive it as a flow trail. I think that's also why they got a bit of a bad rap too, because it really stands out if you get a flow trail wrong. Like, it's there was definitely a couple in Adelaide where that definitely happened, in my eyes anyway, and it never worked well. Yeah.
Is it hard for you to look at a trail that someone else has built and it perhaps doesn't work, and then that gets a bad name for, I don't know if this happens, but it might get a bad name for all trail builders across the board?
It kind of did there for a while, but for me, it was just more disappointing. Like, if I went and rode a trail that someone built, and I'm not saying every trail that we built is amazing. Sure, we get it. Of course, we get it wrong, or it's people aren't really like what we do. But we always do our best. So when you go out and you ride something, you just think, man, that person just did not care. They just took the money and ran, and it's just left someone with a a disaster. That's the only time I sort of get a bit disappointed, and but then that can give mechanised trail building a bad name. But I think for the most part, most companies in the country now are building some pretty cool stuff. So yeah,
because that did happen for a while, a couple of years ago, where there was just a bunch of trail building companies. Obviously, the proper ones have survived, but it seemed like there was like almost a money grab situation there for some people.
And look, that's just, you're just always going to see that no matter what industry it is, and especially given with all the COVID situation we've been faced with, governments are finding ways to stimulate the economy, and they're doing that through funding of trails and pump tracks, and there's so many tenders going out that you can't keep up. So there's plenty of stuff out there, and I'm sure there'll be a few people that just maybe rush it through a bit, and we'll see.
How's the COVID situation kind of affected you? Has it been positive? It's obviously would have been difficult, but how has it affected you and the business as a whole?
Oh, look, we've done fairly well throughout. We were pretty lucky before it hit. We'd won this huge contract in Wild Mersey in Tasmania. So, we're like, all right, we're locked in. We've got 70k trail network. If something goes pear-shaped with COVID, we've got a good solid couple of years work down here in Tasmania. We had a number of pump tracks, like possibly the biggest 2 pump tracks in the country that we just weren't able to service because of COVID. So a couple of companies built those, local companies, one in Queensland and one in WA. So the WA one's Common Ground. They took over that project and they did a really good job of that. So thanks to them for making that come out nice. And, and same with the guys Trailworks up in Queensland. They did a track for us up in Rockhampton that came out really well too. So sure, would have loved to have built them, but just the ice, having to isolate. It was pretty much in those times. It was 2 weeks isolation somewhere there, 2 weeks isolation when you come back.
Yeah. So you're out for a month. Yeah. Yeah,
that's right. It just wasn't practical. So we've lost a few jobs because of that, but for the most part, we've been pretty lucky, to be honest. Yeah.
And how does it kind of work for you, on that note, how does it kind of work for you dealing with the interstate kind of projects? Do you have field crews in every state? Do you have one solid crew in one state and you send people out? How's that kind of work or balance?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of crews that basically travel around everywhere. So we've got a full Tasmanian crew here in Tasmania. There's only 2 of us that aren't native to Tasmania, so so that's a pretty solid team of 12 here. Then we've got Victorian crew as well, some SA-based crew, and we just travel around as best we can, but it has been quite difficult, obviously, at the moment, especially with our Melbourne crew. They're actually caught up in that lockdown, so they can't do anything. Yeah,
that's going to be tough for those guys, spending a majority of their lives outside. Now they're locked inside. So,
it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
How do you kind of go about selecting trail builders? Like, there's not like someone can provide you with a portfolio of their previous work, or how's
it's pretty difficult. We're pretty lucky. Our company's grown pretty organically. We seem to have like-minded people that come on board and are really keen to really learn the art of trail building, not just to come on board and be there's a bit of a perception that if you're the excavator operator in trail building, you're the king of the team, and it's couldn't be further from the truth, because it's quite often the people that can see trail that are the best trail builders, and they can work with a good operator and get them to build good things. But just because you're the operator, you're not you're not the king of the castle. But we've just been really lucky that always get good people come on board, and willing to learn, willing to listen, and do it properly, not skip it. They understand that if myself or Elliot or one of the other leaders have shown them how to do it. Like, we haven't shown them to do it that way because, that's not the way to do it. We've shown it because that's the right way to do it. Do it that way, and we're not going to have any problems at all down the track. I do a bit of training every now and then as well. People, so that helps get people up to speed and help them understand how a trail gets built and how to maintain one.
And you mentioned Elliot there, so he's a pretty good mountain biker for a big BMXer. But how important is it for them to be a good rider and understand the riding aspect of a trail? Because sometimes you do notice that trail features are short because the builders might not be able to jump as far, or the flow's all wrong because the person that's designed it rides that specific way. Is it really important for the rider to understand how that trail is going to flow?
Yeah, they need to be. Sorry, what was that?
Or the builder. Sorry, I said the rider, but is it important that the builder knows how the trail is going to flow?
Yeah, it is. The builder needs to be able to visualise. So just like you said, someone builds a jump that's too short, and you just because that's what they can jump. But they haven't taken into account what's the rest, how does everyone else ride? Can they roll through that? Is it worth making that jump a bit bigger so less people can do it, but more people can ride through that feature and enjoy it? So they're the sorts of things that as a builder you really need to think about. You can't be selfish. You can't just build what you want, because use someone like Elliot. I mean, he can ride anything. He rides up trees and stuff. So imagine what his version of a trail would be like. Like his perfect trail I wouldn't be able to ride down it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've just got to think about who the user's going to be, and I like to always say bigger is normally going to be better. So if you're building a jump, the bigger it is, the less people do it, but those people that do it are way more confident and have much better abilities.
And bigger jumps are usually easier in my experience anyway, especially on big wheel bikes. Like those little kicky things that get developed because they're tiny, they're almost more harm than they are good for some people.
Yeah, that's right. They're awkward, and I don't like them at all. It's a pet hate of mine. When I go down a trail and I come across those things, man, I start fuming. Like, it's just like, why have you done that? It's just horrible.
And you mentioned, obviously you started back with V-brakes and steel frames and no suspension, and now we have the fastest bikes we've ever had in the world. And you look at World Cup racing and everything is getting faster, straighter, and less berms, and it's kind of less technical in a sense. Has that affected you guys on the ground as well with how you build trails?
Definitely the bikes, for sure. Like it's just outrageous what you can ride at the moment. I've just got the opportunity to get a patrol mountain bike. It's an Indonesian company. I built a downhill track for them, Bali, and they've produced this awesome e-bike, and it's 29-inch wheels, 2.6-inch tyres, 160 mil of travel. It's like, what can't I ride over? It's just insane, like what we can do on them. So you ride that, and you got to start building that into your features, and that's what you'll see in Wild Mersey. What we're building, it's pretty raw and pretty rowdy.
But have you had to make them almost less technical because wheelbases getting longer, 29s and stuff, less tight turns? People think their bike can't corner as well. Like, do you have to kind of take that into consideration?
Yeah, definitely with our climbing trails. We probably 3-4 years ago, I'd say, our trails, corners have got bigger diameters.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and they've got a bit more of an in-slope. We call them like climbing berms.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you could just see these longer wheelbase bikes really struggling on tight corners. And to be honest, some of those tight corners you probably can't get around a 26-inch wheel bike that well anymore. So, and especially with the e-bikes, like because they turn an uphill into a downhill. Right? So you've got to really think about that as well. But you can't just go building every climb for an e-bike because it's not going to be so much fun for your normally aspirated, as they call them.
You watch some of Will Rishbeth. You watch some of his videos of him climbing up a hill on an e-bike, and hot damn, it looks good. It looks like a good time.
Yeah, we've actually developed climbs here in Wild Mersey specifically for e-bikes. Super, super techy, rooty, rutty, rocky, just steep, like crazy steep, hard to do on the e-bike, really hard. So, it's going to be interesting to see if people can just do it on their normal bikes. I don't think they can because there's a couple there I haven't got up yet on the e-bike. So it's
good. Yeah.
It's hard.
I think I think it was Danny McCaskill was saying he'd get 2 or 3 batteries and go out for a ride and just try and find the hardest climbs he could possibly do and be out there for 3 or 4 hours on an e-bike, and it was as challenging as a good downhill. Yeah,
that's their thing. The bikes are there to go exploring and to find those steep old fire roads and things, and find some crazy rocky outcrops that you would have ridden down in the past. And you go, crack at getting up there. It's like doing motorcycle trials. But,
exactly. Yeah.
That sort of thing that we're finding a whole new aspect to the sport. It's cool.
And using your gears to control your speed and torque instead of trying to make it easier and doing all that. It's such a whole different riding experience.
Yeah, that's right. I'm actually using the lowest gears I've got on the e-bike to get through this stuff. It's proper steep and hard. So.
And I need to get down there. But as a trail builder, when the e-bikes came out, everyone thought they'd be leaving ruts in uphills and causing moto-style damage to every track in the world. But have you seen any increase in trail wear or anything since e-bikes have become more popular?
Yeah, I have. I was over in this place called Wesley in New South Wales, and I was walking around with one of our project managers and Kane, and we couldn't work out how these corners were sort of getting this little bermed edge on them. Because they were really flat, and then in some other areas I'm going, this almost looks like braking bumps, and it's completely flat. So hadn't seen that before. I was thinking, I wonder if it's that water or no, it's definitely braking bumps. And then we kept going around the trail, and then probably half an hour later, there would have been 6 or 7 people on e-bikes came screaming through these corners and braking and dust flying everywhere and stuff. And I was just like, wow, that's what's happening. That's what people are going to be doing. I just looked at each other and went, all right, we need to actually take into consideration now when we're building our trails to compensate for these bikes. I don't think they're doing, I personally don't think they're doing any extra damage to the trails at the moment. As long as people keep them not chipped, they should be all right.
Yeah, I won't go down that path. But yeah, I've always wondered, because you look at let's just say Connor, he's 80, 90 kilos, and he's on a 14 kilo bike, so he's 115 kilos on his bike with the bike. That's still 35 kilos less than me before the engine and motor and stuff like that. So me versus Connor, as far as bike and riding weight through those tires, is the same as the difference between him and then him on an e-bike. So I've always wondered what it is about the e-bike that might make it different, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, look, that increased weight and increased pace you can come into a corner on an e-bike can cause people to start braking more, and then that's how it's talked about, those braking bumps. So that could happen. That's probably going to happen more on a poorly designed trail than a good designed trail. On a good designed trail, you're going to come into that corner and you would have already washed your pace off. The trail would have done it for you, so you're not having to hit your brakes hard because you're about to dive into a 2-meter radius corner. So good design will prevent that. But it will be interesting to see, because as e-bikes are certainly getting more and more popular, like everyone's just getting them. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's almost rarer to see a naturally aspirated bike than an e-bike these days.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Have you been using it as a trail building tool? Because I know like Specialized did something where they really sponsored some trail building companies, and it seems like they've been a really, really good kind of economical and I guess environmentally friendly way for you guys to get around and build trails.
Yeah, I haven't been using it in that capacity.
Okay.
We've actually got some pretty cool motos that we use to get around on our trails. So it's just so we can carry the weight. Yeah. And we don't have to worry about the batteries and so forth. So I don't use it like that. But I definitely have been using it as a research tool.
Okay.
Really, really learning to understand how this bike works, what's the dynamics of this bike, so I can make better trail that can suit those bikes, but not take away from our traditional bikes.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I've got these e-challenge trails here in Tasmania, where they're completely separate, super steep, rad trails for the e-bikes.
Yeah.
To keep them away from our other climbing trails that they might hook along a bit too fast.
Yeah, that's right. It's good to see that that's an adaptation that the industry and you guys are taking to really challenge and bring that sport into a different kind of window.
Yeah, definitely. It's because they just get down the trails the same as everything else.
Yeah.
But we've got to make something challenging for them up the trails, because we just don't want that. You get a few guys together and girls for that matter on a rowdy weekend ride on their e-bikes in boost mode, just hammering past everyone else. That's struggling up a climb. We don't want that.
And that good old, you need one of these calls as they come past. Then.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So. And
you mentioned like tooling and stuff for your building as well. And how long was it? 6 or 7 years ago, you released like that trail rake from you guys as well, the rake and bake?
Yeah. That was it's maybe 8 years ago now.
Yeah, right.
So that was pretty cool. And that was just really out of it's very similar to the fire rake that you can go and buy in Bunnings, but I would what would we do? We'd break one a week easily.
Okay. Jeez.
Yep. And I was just like, there's got to be a better way. So I studied all different types of materials and came up with the rake. And this is the rake and bake at the moment. This is its 13th iteration. I'm a bit of a crazy designer. I'm not happy with stuff. I've got to. I find if I can find 1% in that tool, I look for it and I find it. And we've sold over 1,000 rakes around the world. It's incredible. Like we don't make any money on them. We just made them for us to use, and it's ridiculous. Now we've got Forestry New South Wales just ordered a huge amount. Forest crews to use. It's just, I could never expected it was going to do what it did, and how many people went out and started making them themselves. Like, all around the world. It was just like, what happened here? Like, there was only 3 of us making a tool. Now there's 3,000 people making tools, which is all good. Like, everyone's got different environments and everyone likes different tools. So, yeah, it's good.
What kind of, like, to me, it's just a square with 3 different surfaces. Like, it's not like, well, to most people, that's what it would be. What's so special about it? Can you kind of explain what it is and what's so special about it?
Well, for the fire blade, not the fire blade. Here's one of my tools, rake and bake. It's a really heavy duty digging and raking tool. It's designed to cut and to shape and to compact in extreme terrain where you're going to be putting it into the ground and hitting bedrock, which would normally just write off any other tool. So, it's a bit hard to get a visual on it over a podcast, but look up trailscapes.com.au and you'll be able to see the rake and bake there and Fireblade, and
I'll chuck the link in the description.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
But it's basically the last tool you need to buy. Like, so, if someone's into recreational trail building, this is a proper tool. It should last you a lifetime. Like, that's how it's built and designed. So.
That's how tools should be.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And I think we've got a mutual mate in Michael from Huck the World as well, and you guys got those. You guys got those T-shirts made up, the tech tees. How important have they been for you guys, like as a trail builder?
Well, I'm actually wearing one now.
Yeah.
So they're really good. Like, he's done such a good job with like the fit and of these tech tees. Love them, like, so good. And then to just kind of do that collaboration where, he had that existing no dig, no ride Reaper with a fire rake, but now he's actually got a rake and bake on there with the Trailscapes logo. Yeah. That stuff was sold out, like, just straight away. We couldn't get here.
I know. I tried to get one myself. I got the original Reaper, and then I couldn't get one of the Trailscapes ones.
Yeah,
it's like the one thing I don't own from him. So...
Yeah, so we're pretty stoked with that because, like, sometimes you just think, would people wear something that's got your branding on it? I'm just a trail building company. Are people into it? But they are. So it was good. Great collaboration. I'm sure we'll do a few more. Yeah.
It brings up the point of the other part of COVID where everyone, especially like a lot on YouTube, it seemed to in flux a little bit, but everyone tried to start building their own trails because they got nothing else to do locally. It seemed like everyone got really into it as well. Did you see that as well? Yeah.
Our rake sales went through the roof.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I'd probably take a different view to a lot of people on what can often be a touchy subject. I don't condone going out and building trail legally in environmentally sensitive areas, but at the same time, man, I used to go out and do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I did as a young kid and adult. I went and built trails everywhere. Like, and then when you're locked up, like, sure, you got to get out there and get amongst it, get into a forest and rake some stuff out. And for the most part, that's all they're doing, just raking in a few little, shrubby kind of berms, and that stuff that'll just grow over. Like, it's
it's not like they're chopping down trees and building houses or anything out there.
No, they're not.
In a trail.
I don't see them taking out heavy equipment or anything to do this stuff. It's just going out and having a laugh. And possibly then going, oh, yeah, some of these trail companies are actually quite good, aren't they? Like, it's not as easy as I thought it would be. So
9 hours deep into their first corner.
Yeah, but I'm certainly not going to tell anyone to go into a conservation park or something. And,
Yeah. Just that disclaimer out there for everyone.
Yeah, but it brings to point like the lack of open spaces that areas have. So kids are out there digging their park, making some nice little doubles and stuff, and they're young, comes down, knocks down, the kids are resilient. No, just go build them again, and just keep doing it.
Next lot over. Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you've got council that used to say, no, don't worry about this stuff. Getting on the phone, calling us saying, hey, can you come out and teach these kids how to do this properly?
Yeah.
We need to, they've worn us down. We need to legitimise this and make it turn into a good thing. So there has been a lot of really good positives that have come out of this informal trail building, as I like to call it.
Yeah. There's a lot worse things that could be happening than some kids out in the forest with a shovel.
Exactly.
Breaking. Yeah. Like it's
absolutely.
We'll start wrapping things up a little bit here, coming up to the hour. So what advice would you have to someone that wants to kind of start their own thing in the mountain bike world, and then also for people that want to become like a professional trail builder with, say, Trailscapes? Like, what steps and what advice would you kind of give them?
I guess you've got to definitely want to be passionate about what you do. You can't just think, hey, I'm going to be a trail builder. I'm going to go out there and build whatever trail I like, because you're just not going to be given that opportunity in the early days of trail building. Yeah. You're going to have to, get my trust and the trust of the team to then go, all right, yeah, okay, we like that idea. Let's run with it. That's because everyone has input into our trails. It's not a closed shop. It's very involved with everyone. It's really important for us, people to have like a horticultural or landscaping background. We find that's really helpful. And that's the sort of thing that people can do through TAFE or, work experience with landscapers or whatever. That's a very good skill, especially when it comes with our stonework and the finishing of a trail, making the trail look neat and clean, ready for someone to ride. And the biggest issue with the trail building is travelling. We travel a lot.
Yeah.
Before the COVID shutdown, I was a platinum virgin frequent flyer and a gold Qantas member in the same year. That's that's a lot of flights to job sites. You won't have to do that. It's the trail builder working for us, but you'll be, you kind of live out of a suitcase to some degree. It's, because we'll have we'll go, okay, we've got a pump track at Wodonga. Oh, now we've got a pump track over in Gawler in South Australia. Hey, there's a job up in Queensland now. And, can someone shoot over to Darwin? It's an awesome lifestyle, but you have to be prepared to travel. And, it's be financially rewarding. Like, our teams are, they get paid well. And so, just got to have a passion for it, and that'll get you a long way, no matter what you choose to do.
For sure. Every day's easier when it's your passion.
Absolutely. When that day's raining, you get up and go, cool, well, weather day, let's go.
That's why I'm not a trail builder. It's not happening. Is there anything that you would change or do differently from starting, say, Trailscapes or riding and up to now? Is there anything you would change in your life or the process you've gone through to get to where you are?
No, I don't think I would, to be honest. It's pretty easy to look back and say, maybe I could have done this a bit better, or I could have done that a bit better. But you never know where you're going to be. And where I am today with my company, with my amazing team and staff, that's maybe because I made some stupid decisions. maybe that's how I got there. I made that mistake and it's paid off. So, yeah, I'm not going to take anything back. Maybe one thing. Maybe I should have kept racing.
Yeah. Okay. That's a hard one. I keep saying I'm going to retire and stop racing every year. End up back at a race at least. It's tough. And on those days where it is raining or snowing and it's absolutely shite weather and you don't want to be building or you don't want to be doing something, do you have any music or anything you like to listen to, or what motivates you to get up and out and build a trail or do the hard yards? Is there anything that you kind of listen to or do to motivate yourself?
No, I don't actually. I'm so stoked on like how that trail is going to be, like what the end result of it and what it means to people. Like there really is no better feeling as a trail builder when the ideas you have about that trail, you hope it's going to be everything that you want it to be to that particular group of people, and then you see it. You had Jai Motherall on your show, So Jai and myself built this awesome trail down here in Tasmania. It's a green trail. It's called the Green Hornet, and everyone just pokes their nose at a green trail. And I said to Jai, I said, "We're going to make the best green trail in the country." And I think he probably looked at me like, "Man, I think you've had a few too many beers, mate." We've knocked it out of the park. And just recently, I was just down the bottom, and this group of kids come out, and they're all young girls actually, and they were like jumping around, like giggling and laughing, going, "How cool is that? That's the best thing we've ever done." Blah, blah, blah. And you just look at that and go, "Man, that's why I do those hard days. That's why I make those hard decisions." Because you've just created a mountain biker for like life right there and there. They're going to keep going and going and be stoked.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty rewarding for you.
Oh, definitely. When you get those messages on Instagram or Facebook or whatever from someone that just says, "Hey, look, I know you don't know me. I just wanted to thank you for making that trail." That's just been like life-changing or whatever, I had this one guy come up to us once at Craigburn. He goes, "Man, I was an alcoholic, suffered from depression, and I just started riding around your trails. And now I'm just a mountain bike junkie." So it's something awesome like that. You never know, and that's just really rewarding.
That's rad. I can't think of a better note to end the show on. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your weekend to come on and have a chat.
No worries. Thanks for having me on.
I hope you enjoyed it and there wasn't anything we missed or anything else that you wanted to chat about, but I think it's been good.
No, quite enjoyed it. Maybe you could do another one day on a.
Yeah, I think I've got a list of double ups one day for sure. Easy, mate. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and we'll speak again soon.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Bye.
Okay, bye.